You ever have one of those mornings where the world feels too quiet, like it's holding its breath, waiting for something to break? That's how it started for me, trudging through a foot of fresh snow in Pine Hollow, Wyoming, with my mutt, Shadow, sniffing every drift like he's on a mission. It was barely 5 a.m., sky still dark, the kind of cold that bites your nose and makes your boots squeak. Then Shadow lost it, barking like a maniac, pawing at a snowbank near the old Miller's Crossing Bridge. I'm Jake Harper, by the way, just a single dad trying to keep the lights on at my auto shop while raising my 9-year-old, Ethan. Shadow's been my sidekick since I pulled him from a shelter, all ribs and scared eyes, 3 years back. That morning, though, something about his barking wild, desperate made my gut twist. I started digging where he was clawing, and that's when I saw it. A sheriff's SUV, flipped and mangled, half buried in the snow. Blood streaked the white like spilled paint, and inside, pinned by her seatbelt, was Deputy Sarah Coleman, badge 319, face pale as death, lips purple from the cold. She mumbled her name, her number, then her eyes fluttered shut. I reached to pull her out, but Shadow froze, mid-bark, his whole body stiff as a board. His eyes locked on the pines behind us, hackles up, growling low like he smelled something I couldn't. I've been in enough tight spots through tours in Iraq will do that to you. Don't know when things aren't right. This wasn't just a crash. Something was out there, watching. My hands shook, not from the cold, as I pried open the door, metal screaming against metal. Sarah's uniform was soaked, her breathing so faint it barely fogged the air. Shadow circled us, nose twitching, ears pinned back, like he was picking up a scent that didn't belong in our sleepy little town. I'd carried injured buddies before, but hauling Sarah through that snow, her head lolling against my shoulder, felt different, heavier, somehow. Shadow led the way, glancing back every few steps, his growl a constant hum. My place wasn't far, just a small cabin with a flickering porch light, but every step felt like a mile. The woods behind us too damn quiet. Inside, I laid Sarah on the couch by the fireplace, embers still glowing from last night. Shadow planted himself by the window, whining softly, eyes darting to the dark outside. I grabbed towels, checked her for wounds, found a nasty cut on her forehead, blood matting her hair. Ethan stumbled downstairs, still in his Spider-Man pajamas, rubbing his eyes. "Dad, why's Shadow freaking out? Who's she?" His voice had that wobble that always makes my heart clench. "There's been an accident, Bud," I said, keeping it steady, wrapping Sarah in Mom's old quilt, the one she made before cancer took her. Shadow stayed by the window, tail stiff, like he was waiting for trouble to walk through the door. Sarah stirred, eyes fluttering open, unfocused, like she was trying to piece together where she was. Shadow patted over, sniffed her hand, and sat beside her, closer than he ever got to strangers, especially ones in uniform. "Easy, you're safe," I told her, using the voice I'd honed calming Ethan after nightmares. "You were in a wreck." She blinked, taking in the cabin, me old furniture, Ethan's toys scattered by the hearth, the photos of me and Mom on the mantel. "I'm Sarah," she said, voice barely a whisper. "Deputy Sarah Coleman, badge 319. She clutched the quilt tighter, avoiding Shadow's gaze, though he seemed to calm her just by being there. Ethan crept closer, curious as ever, and Shadow's tail thumped once, like he approved. Something about that moment, the dog, the deputy, my kid, felt like the start of something bigger, something I couldn't quite name. The storm kept raging outside, wind howling, snow piling against the windows. I made coffee, heated milk for Ethan's cocoa, watching Sarah from the kitchen. She was talking to Ethan now, her voice soft but shaky, like she was holding herself together by a thread. Shadow stayed glued to her side, glancing at the windows every time the wind rattled the glass. Ethan, blunt as only kids can be, pointed at her holster. "You got a gun?" Sarah froze, her eyes flicking to the weapon like she'd forgotten it was there, then managed a weak smile. "Part of the job, Kid, like your dad's wrenches. But her voice cracked, and Shadow's ears pricked. His eyes locked on her like he knew something we didn't. Her radio crackled dispatch calling about road closures, accidents piling up in the storm. Sarah didn't move, just stared into her cocoa, her face hollow, like she was seeing ghosts. Shadow whimpered, trembling at the radio's static, a reaction I'd seen before. He hated sirens. Anything official. Shouldn't you check in? I asked, settling into the armchair across from her. Her knuckles whitened around the mug. I need to think, she said, slow, deliberate. Figure out what happened. Roads are too bad for anyone to come for me anyway. Shadow looked at her then, tail thumping once, and I swear something passed between them, something heavy, like recognition. Days passed, the storm trapping us together. Sarah stayed in the guest room, joining us for coffee each morning, Ethan chattering about snow forts while Shadow followed her like a shadow of his own. But I noticed things: Sarah checking locks, her hand drifting to her gun at every creak outside, her eyes scanning the windows like she expected trouble. Shadow mirrored her, always positioning himself between her and the door. One night, after Ethan was in bed, I couldn't hold back. You running from something, Sarah? I asked, the fire casting shadows on her face. She froze, hands stilling on Shadow's fur. What makes you say that? She said, but her voice was thin, her eyes dodging mine. Shadow whined, pressing closer, like he felt her fear. Then it all unraveled. Sheriff Dan Carver showed up, his cruiser crunching through the snow. Heard about a wreck near your place, he said, sipping my coffee, his eyes scanning the room, too sharp, too curious. Shadow growled from the kitchen, low and mean, pulling against Sarah's grip. I deflected, kept it vague, but Carver's gaze lingered on Sarah's muddy boots by the door, the extra mug on the counter. When he left, Sarah was pale, trembling, Shadow pressed against her legs like he was ready to fight. You gonna tell me what's going on? I asked, softer this time. She looked at Shadow, then at me, and the dam broke. Not all cops are good, Jake. 2 years ago, I learned that the hard way. Her husband, Tom, was a deputy, K-9 unit, partnered with a German shepherd named Max, Shadow's real name. They'd been gunned down, Tom and Max, by dirty cops tied to a drug ring. Sarah had been undercover ever since, building a case against Carver and his crew. That wreck? No accident, someone wanted her dead. Shadow, Max, had recognized her the second I pulled her from the SUV, his old partner's wife, the one he couldn't save. My blood ran cold. Ethan and I weren't just helping a hurt deputy, we were hiding a target. That night, trouble found us. 3 trucks rolled up, engines growling through the snow. Get Ethan and Shadow to the basement, I told Sarah, grabbing my rifle from the safe, old habits from Iraq kicking in. Men spilled out, armed, moving like they'd done this before. Just give us the deputy, Harper, Carver shouted, his voice dripping with fake calm. No need for your kid to get hurt. I'd heard lies like that before, in sand-swept villages half a world away. My first shot cracked their windshield, sent them scrambling. Shadow's barking roared from below, fierce, like he was ready to settle old scores. They came at us, hard glass shattered. Bullets tore through the walls Mom and I had painted together. I took out Carver with a clean shot, watched him drop, screaming. 2 more came through the kitchen and front window, but my shotgun stopped them cold. When the smoke cleared, it was just me, standing in the wreckage of my home, heart pounding. It's over, I called to the basement. Sarah came up, Shadow at her heels, tail wagging like he knew we'd won. Ethan followed, eyes wide but brave, gripping my hand. Bad guys lose, Dad? He asked. Yeah, bud, I said, meeting Sarah's eyes. The good guys won. The FBI rolled in hours later, Sarah's evidence enough to bury Carver's whole operation. 6 months later, I stood by Miller's Crossing, Shadow at my side, Ethan tossing snowballs. Sarah had taken a job with the FBI in Cheyenne, close enough to visit, her chili simmering in our kitchen every Friday. Shadow didn't flinch at sirens anymore. his tail wagging when Sarah's car pulled up. "Think she'll stay, Dad?" Ethan asked, snow in his hair, hope in his eyes. I looked at Shadow, at the lights spilling from our windows, and smiled. "She already has, kid, in all the ways that count. But here's the thing, sometimes I wonder if we're ever really safe. If the shadows of men like Carver are still out there, waiting. What do you think? Can you ever outrun a past like that? Or does justice always come with a price?" Drop a comment, tell me your take. And if this hit you like it hit me, share it. Let's get this story out there.